In the middle of a quiet rural village lived a shop owner named Govind. His small store stood near the main path where villagers passed every day. The shelves were filled with jars of spices, sacks of wheat, rice, and other daily necessities. People trusted Govind because his family had operated the same shop for generations. Whenever parents sent their children to buy groceries, they often said, "Go to Govind's shop. He's a reliable man." Govind always greeted customers warmly and appeared helpful and polite. However, behind that friendly behavior was a habit no one in the village had noticed. Over time, Govind had started giving his customers slightly less grain than they paid for. It was only a small difference each time, just a few grams, but he believed no one would ever realize it. Not far from the village center lived a hard-working farmer named Ramu. He owned a tiny piece of farmland and 2 buffaloes that helped support his family. His wife, Kamla, was known throughout the village for making incredibly rich and fresh butter. Every morning before the sun became too strong, Ramu would ride his old bicycle to Govind's shop. He carried a clay pot wrapped in damp cloth to keep the butter cool. Inside the pot was what he believed to be 1 kilogram of fresh butter. In exchange, Govind would give him 1 kilogram of wheat. This simple arrangement had continued for many years. Neither man questioned it, and it became part of their daily routine. But one summer morning, a seed of suspicion entered Govind's mind. He began wondering whether the farmer had been cheating him. That farmer always looks satisfied, Govind thought to himself. Maybe the butter he brings isn't truly a full kilogram. The thought stayed in his mind the entire day. When Ramu delivered the butter as usual and left the shop, Govind decided to check the weight on his scale. To his surprise, the butter measured only 900 grams. Govind immediately became furious. Convinced that he had been cheated for years, he rushed to the village council, known as the Panchayat, and demanded justice. He accused Ramu of dishonesty and insisted that the farmer had been deceiving him for a long time. Soon the villagers gathered beneath the large tree where the council meetings were always held. The head of the council listened carefully while Govind loudly explained his complaint. Ramu stood quietly nearby, listening without interrupting. When Govind finished speaking, the council leader turned to Ramu and calmly asked him to explain. The farmer spoke softly and respectfully. He said that he was a poor man who could not afford a proper weighing scale at home. Murmurs spread through the crowd as people wondered how he could measure the butter without a scale. Govind smirked, believing this would expose the farmer's lie. Ramu then explained his method. Every day, he said, he bought 1 kilogram of wheat from Govind's shop. When he returned home, he placed that wheat on one side of his simple balance and cut pieces of butter until both sides were equal. That was the amount of butter he brought back to the shop the next morning. In other words, he used the wheat he received from Govind as his measurement. A deep silence fell over the crowd as everyone slowly understood what this meant. If the butter weighed only 900 grams, then the wheat Govind had been giving the farmer must also have weighed 900 grams. Without realizing it, Govind had been cheating his own customer, and the same shortage had been reflected back to him. The dishonest measure he used had returned to him exactly the same way. The council leader looked at Govind, who now stood speechless with his head lowered. In his attempt to accuse someone else, he had accidentally exposed his own actions. The villagers realized that Govind had likely been giving less grain to many people for a long time. His clever trick had finally turned against him. The decision of the council was quick and firm. Govind was ordered to repay the farmer for the loss he had caused over the years. More importantly, he lost the trust and respect of the entire village. Within a short time, he left the village, carrying the heavy consequence of his own dishonesty. Ramu, on the other hand, continued his simple life, bringing butter to the market and caring for his family just as he always had. In the end, life quietly returns whatever we send into it. Kindness returns as kindness,
and dishonesty eventually returns as its own consequence. Just like the shopkeeper learned, when we try to trick the world, we often end up trapping ourselves. So always remember, what we plant in life is what we will one day harvest. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories.